Cash Money Millionaires. No Limit Soldiers.
Offset, thank you for all you do.
TRU, Dog Pound.
I'm not even this giant Beatles fan, but for you to say, like, if you want to say they're overrated, fine, I'll listen to that. But you can't put any of those rap groups on the same level as the Beatles. They're culturally impactful beyond the decades.
I just did. Migos is culturally impactful.
I'm not saying that they aren't.
G-Unit.
Bigger than the Beatles?
Hot Boys. Hot Boys. Boy, what a show. What a show. Let's finish strong. Looking for the best Giants talk in the Bay Area. We'll get back on the Giants. Trust me, we will. Not prospects. Not bands. It's not my fault, folks. Not my fault. Garlic Fries and Baseball guys. Check out the latest podcast. Giants and Padres today at the Yard. Chill Shasky Lubman and Sam Lubman bring you all you need to know about this Giants season every single week. New episodes are now available wherever you listen to the podcast. Monte Poole in moments here. Warriors Insider for NBC Sports Bay Area. He's getting those questions off yesterday at the presser. Yeah, I know. I'm with you, Jason Battle. I'm with you. BPA, hey, Lutman, Spinoni, listen to this. Brian and Palo Alto, penalty box for the rest of the month. Straight up. Rest of the month, he's in Alcatraz. Can't do it. I'm getting too many texts about him, too many tweets about him. He's in Alcatraz for the next month, until July.
You can't die in the cell, man.
Just hear me out real quick on this. I mean, I'll let you. We'll get into other topics, and I don't want to get back into the wars. We'll get into the Giants' great win. The Beatles are like a guy who played in the dead ball era, right? No one is saying that on today's children they have. I'm just saying you cannot talk about the athletes of today without talking about the yesteryear. All right. So if you want to say they're Willie Mays or you want to say they're DiMaggio or whatever, fine. But they deserve their appropriate place in the music lexicon.
See, listen, Austin to San Jose, U2, Boston, Beatles sold 600 million records. So what? Drake has sold all the records in the world, more records than anybody. Is Drake the greatest rapper of all time? Absolutely not. Not even top 5, not even top 10. So stop. I don't care about how many records you stole. We're good.
I mean, if the songs come on, everybody knows them. You know all the songs.
Right. Doesn't mean they're great.
Hey, Jude.
Monte Poole, Warriors Insider. Hey, Monte! I guess I got to step up for Fezzy Phil. It's good to hear from you, Monte Poole. You're at the presser yesterday, which we'll get into in a second. Where are you at on the Beatles? I'm sorry to walk into this conversation, but where are you at on the Beatles? I think they're overrated.
Honestly, I'm more of a Lennon fan than I'm a Beatles fan.
Okay.
I think Lennon's all-time great songwriter. But the Beatles made some good stuff. And, if you look at the list of best-selling albums or best albums of all time, they're always kind of dominating the list. So as a person who is not a musician, a music professor, I suggest that maybe they did some good stuff.
All right, there it is.
I mean, you're from San Francisco. They're part of the hippie movement, B. I would expect you to embrace it just a little more.
I'm not. Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Just a little.
So many people get triggered by what I like, what I don't like. I don't tell people what to listen to. I don't tell people what to watch, but they get mad at me and say I'm closed-minded because I like to do the things that I like to do. Anyway, I like to read Monte Poole's work, and I like to listen to his podcast with Dalton Johnson, of course, on NBC Sports Bay Area. And what was your first impression of Mike Dunleavy Jr., the GM? I know you covered him as a player, but as a GM sitting next to Joe Lacob, what's the big takeaway for you, Monty?
Well, he said all the right things, I thought. He didn't have any missteps yesterday. Again, you're sitting next to your boss, so you got to be careful about what you say. He didn't really dodge anything either anything he dodged was something that he could legally not discuss. So I thought he came off pretty well. Now, I know there are a lot of people who are kind of skeptical. I understand why. But they were skeptical about Bob Myers, too. And so I think it's up to Mike to do things that will win them over, which, unfortunately for him, won't be as, I won't say easy, but be more difficult for him than it was for Bob, because Bob walked into Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And then he drafted Draymond Green. So I think it's an opportunity for Mike to build his own thing, because, Steph, Dre, Klay are not going to be able to carry Mike for 10 or 11 years. So it's a chance for him to sort of show that, he's not just an assistant GM. He can put things together. But I will say this, and Joe Lacob several times said it yesterday, this is not an I operation. This is a we operation. Bob wasn't a guy who worked alone. He did not. But he was the final voice in many instances, certainly in James Wiseman's case. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a chance for Mike to come in and prove that he can be a good general manager. I think a lot of fans are waiting to see that because they still have memories of him as a player. Didn't work out. So, and they were, the first time he came back with the Pacers, man, oh man, the boos were just merciless. I mean, every time he touched the ball, they booed him. Every time he stood up off the bench, they booed him. It was like, wow. And so, this is a chance for Mike to sort of redeem himself in the eyes of people who thought this guy came here as the number 3 overall pick and did not perform at that level.
I keep going back to Joe Lacob, who was by his side. Do you think fans are worried about Joe Lacob? Because I sure get that impression.
Yes. And more than fans. It's not just fans. There are a lot of basketball people around the league that are like looking at the Warriors like, okay, let's see how this plays out. And that's why, there was discussion about whether Joe would promote Kirk Lacob, his son. And I consistently said, I don't think it's going to happen because of the optics. You don't want that over your head. Is that okay? It starts to look like a mom and pop family run operation. And not to say that isn't a part of what's going on, but as somebody put it to me, are the Warriors going to become the NBA's Dallas Cowboys? Where you got Jerry Jones and his son Steven running things, and once Jimmy Johnson took them to the promised land a bunch of times, they thought we don't need him anymore. So we got this, Jimmy. See ya. And they haven't done a whole lot since then. So that was, I think, the people looking outside in thinking, is this where the Warriors are going to go? And Kirk is still going to have a voice. Joe's going to have a voice. Mike's going to have a voice. Steve Kerr, as long as he's there, will have a voice. I think there is a sense that, let's see what Joe does with this because, the guy wants to win. Brandon Schneider, his business side president, said yesterday that, hey, one of the misconceptions about Joe is that he's hard to work for. He said he wants to win. He wants to win. And I will tell you this, guys. People who say that even some people who are worried about Joe being, a megalomaniac say the same thing. That you can talk about Joe, his opinions about what he wants to do with the team, but you can't question his desire to win. You can't question that. This isn't a situation where he's choosing power over the chance to win. And I think an example of that is that last trade deadline when the Warriors traded James Wiseman. Mm-hmm. And Joe, Joe really was reluctant to do that. He didn't really want to do that. And I think even now, he still second guesses that move. But he let it happen because that was the overriding sense in the room that they should do it because it was about now rather than what can happen 3 or 4 years from now. So I think this summer is going to be a big deal for the Warriors to see where they go, how they take it, the direction they take. But I'm optimistic at least that they will have a pretty good shot to do something good.
Monte Poole, Warriors Insider here for NBC Sports Bay Area, of course, here on the Morning Russell 95.7 The Game. My partner in crime, and Monte. The Draymond Green thing, that's the big news right now. He opted out of his deal yesterday with a lot of people anticipated, but $27.5 million. Now he's looking for a new deal. The Warriors said all the right things, but for somebody who's skeptical of podiums and, some of the things that an owner regime could say about a player, how realistic is it that Draymond Green will not be playing for the Golden State Warriors? Because I would be shocked if he's in another uniform not sporting the logo of the Golden State Warriors.
Same here. Obviously, Mike Dunleavy was emphatic about they need Draymond yesterday. Joe was a little less emphatic, saying that, Draymond's done great things and we want him here. I think Steve Kerr wants him here. The question is, how far will Draymond push the financial package?
What are you thinking there, Monte?
Paul.
What are you thinking? $30 million to start a year?
Well, I think with Draymond, it's more about the length of the contract. I mean, the reason it's not that he's saying, 27.5 million isn't enough. It's saying that he's saying he wants to have a longer term deal. And, it makes sense that he'd want a 3-year deal to line up with Steph Curry. And so, yeah, I think if you're Draymond, you're probably looking at 3 and 100, somewhere in that range.
Dang.
Where does that leave Kuminga and Jordan Poole? Because it feels like all three can't coexist because of positional fit, relationship. I don't know. Like that's just my interpretation.
Well, if you're the Warriors, to me, the Warriors are committed to trying to win right now, trying to maximize the Curry era. And if that means that JK or JP will be sacrificed along the way, that's conceivable. I mean, they sacrificed Wiseman, and so if that means they
but on the Wiseman one, real quick, Monty, on the Wiseman, was it even worth it? I mean, I know GP2 had moments in the playoffs, but really, was it worth it? They lost.
Yeah, I think it's debatable. I mean, they knew when they acquired GP2, they didn't even know if he'd be able to play last season, and they made the move anyway. They made the move anyway, not knowing if they'd have him at all during the season. They thought it's better. It's a chance we will have him, and if we have him, he can help us. And he wasn't as good as he was the year before. I talked to him yesterday before the Dunleavy press conference, and I asked him. I said, "Gee, did you ever really feel totally right during the season?" And he said, "I got better. I was able to play, but I mean, I think I improved. I'll be better next year because this is summer without rehab for the first time in a while." Mm-hmm. And he said, "I feel good now. I think I'll feel better later, and we'll be better." He said, "Yeah, but I was able to play, and I think I did some good stuff. But was I totally 100% by the end of the year?" He goes, "No, but I was good enough to play. I was good enough to play and without pain. But in terms of conditioning and stuff, I was good, but I know I can be better." So was it worth it? I think it was a gamble they took, and I understand why they took it. And now this summer will dictate whether or not they are still committed to the now timeline versus the 3 years from now timeline. And that's where you could lose Jordan or JK. Either one of those guys or both could possibly be moved if it gets them someone who can step in right now and be an impact player. Because they're going to ride Steph and Klay this year.
Well, do you think
when I say ride Steph and Klay,
wow,
that means if Jordan, last year's Jordan was not very good, and they believe internally that Draymond and Jordan can fix their situation. I'm not so sure, but they say they are. That's what they're saying publicly. And we think we can do this. We think it'll happen. They'll work it out. We'll work it out. We'll do whatever we have to do to make it work. I don't know. I'm skeptical about that.
Wow.
So, but if they reach a point where they're wondering if it'll work as well as they need to, because keep in mind, man, the Warriors at their best weren't just about playing basketball. They were about a brotherhood, a fraternity, guys that were tight on the road. They enjoyed going on the road because they were all together and they would wallop teams on the road. Last season, they did the opposite. Why? Because the brotherhood was not what it used to be. And it traces back to Draymond and Jordan.
Yep.
So that's why I say the decisions they make this summer will tell us whether they truly believe they can fix that or not. And that's why I think there's a possibility that Jordan could be moved.
What about Klay Thompson? Before we get you out of here, Monte, and we appreciate the time, what about Klay Thompson? 1 year, $43 million. And say if Draymond Green does get 3 years for $100 million, how would Klay feel going into the last year of his deal? He's probably going to want similar money to what Draymond Green would make if that deal came to fruition. Would they be open to trading Klay Thompson this offseason?
I think possibly, but I don't think they want to do that. Keep in mind that Stephen Curry is not the general manager, but he has a voice,
Yeah.
And I think Steph, we all know how loyal Steph is. And that, to me, spells Draymond and Klay forever. And so I think the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson backcourt has been the NBA's best for a long time. Last year, Steph was really good. Klay was good. He just didn't do well in the postseason against the Lakers, and he snuck it up in L.A. But when you look at what Klay is able to do alongside Steph, you don't want to break that up. And Klay himself admitted that when he got the last big contract, max deal, he said, I'm not even going to play, and he kind of marveled at the fact that the Warriors gave him a max deal under such uncertainty there about his physical health. So I think Klay would be open to a hometown discount. He's not expecting a max deal this time around. He can't be. So yeah, I think he would be willing to take less money than he took last time. Keep in mind though, if you're Draymond, the contract that Jordan Poole got exceeds anything Dre has ever gotten. Yeah. And so that's also a factor here that could be influencing where that contract talks go.
All right, here it is. Monte Poole, Warriors insider. He doesn't take any days off. How's your summer been so far? You miss us yet, man? You miss Mully, Fezzi? You miss us, KB?
I miss all y'all, man.
All right.
Let's go back to work tomorrow. Let's hit the studio.
Oh, might catch Shasky there. Not me. Shasky's waiting on the call. Call him up.
I'm always ready.
He's always ready. Line's always busy. All right, anyway. Monty, have a good one.
I'll have D right on the podcast, so we'll be going at it.
All right, there it is.
Nice.
There it is. I got to get on that podcast one day. You guys forget about me in the offseason. All right, Monty, talk to you soon, man. Monte Poole, Warriors insider here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game.